What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Sun Belt Syndicate. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Don't Sleep Energy. You can see them on the video version between Marv and myself right now, and just above our guest of the night. And also Phenom Elite. Check out the links in the description for the podcast, and you can check out the discounts we can give you for both of those. With you from the first kick to the last pitch, Seth is going to be absent tonight. We know he has a young baby at home, so we'll see what the future holds for him as he tries to balance podcast life with a baby in the house. But we, Marv, are excited to invite in our guest of this evening. Great name, by the way, Dominic Listi. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to do this.
Yeah, and I'm going to start quickly with how we ran across each other. So, you know, our viral video that really got us on the map a little bit more than we used to be happened last spring at a Coastal Carolina game. Happened to be while you were on the field. And at the time, of course, we didn't know each other or interact at all. But we reposted that because they had another clip that was starting to gain some popularity as well from the Fairfield series. And you made mention of what that kind of atmosphere was like. So we looked you up, man, a really impressive background, as we're going to show you here in a second. You came up from the D3 ranks at North Central, and I guess just kind of start us there and tell us how you made the journey from there all the way to Clemson.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was definitely not a very linear trajectory for myself. Loved baseball like a lot of young kids do, and kind of got teased by my buddies for saying I wanted to play Division I baseball and whatnot. But I knew I wanted to play in college nonetheless. So the time came around, and my whole recruiting story, I don't want to get too deep into it because it would take forever. But long story short, I committed to Division III school that was going to be Division II. My senior season started. They said, hey, we're actually going back to Division III, which means you lose your athletic scholarship. So I go, oh, crap. I decommit. I then go back trying to play those games. Long story short, University of Illinois Springfield, a perennial Division II College World Series team, they offer me, I'm about to call the coach and commit. He goes, hey, actually, we're going to take away over half of your scholarship and give it to these two bounce backs from Houston. So I go, beep you. And I'm like, I'm not going there now. So I'm kind of left like, okay, what do I do? All I really have is the local junior college or this other local Division III school that my parents really liked. And I enjoyed the place, but it was honestly kind of expensive. So I ended up going to North Central College, had a great career there. One of my fun facts about my career is I've started and played every game of my career. I don't know if that's how many that is, but I want to say it's 160 something games, if I'm not wrong. Balled out there, had 2 COVID years there. My freshman year was the true COVID year. Sophomore year, Division III didn't have a true season, so we got back another year. That's why I was allowed to go play 2 years at the Division I level. Balled out junior, senior year. Eventually, I got to the point where I go, okay, I graduated early. I started my master's of business administration. I go, I just, something didn't feel right. I didn't want to stay at my D3 anymore, but I wasn't thinking about leaving. I was never thinking about transferring, but it got to the point that something inside of me said, okay, something's got to change here. This doesn't feel right. You're just not around people that are viewing the baseball the same way. At the Division III level, it's kind of a hobby for a lot of people. And that's not how I viewed it. So one of my buddies from University of Illinois, Chicago goes, hey, you ever thought about the portal? I go, no. So I go, screw it. I'm going to do it. I talked to my coach. He goes, okay, man, I'll let you do it, but I think you're going to be a 200 hitter at best, and you're going to be one of the worst teams in that conference and ride the bench essentially. So I go, all right. He goes, but if it doesn't work out and you don't get any offers, you can come back. Well, that changed very quickly. He unfollowed me, blocked me on all social medias after he eventually figured out that I was getting some love from these Division I schools. So pretty pathetic on his part. Still hasn't talked to me to this day and pretends like I don't exist. You'd think they'd use my story as marketing, right? But they don't. So not very smart on their end. But fast forward to my story, I'm 8 rounds of emails in, basically getting no love from any schools. I joined the Northwood Summer League, which is more prominent in the Midwest, but it's a very good summer league, probably the second best behind the Cape Cod, if not the third best. But start doing very well there, hit a home run to center field my first game. People start reaching out to me. Long story short, I finally get an email from Indiana State. This is the year after they made the Super Regionals and lost to TCU. And they go, hey, do you have a school yet? I go, no. And they send somebody out to watch me. They offer me a walk-on, take the job there, work my way into, after having a putrid fall, probably hitting about 100 if I was lucky, thinking I had no shot. Ended up starting every game there, getting second team all conference, being on a stud-filled team. I mean, our first baseman didn't even catch for us because our catcher was that much better than him. Luis Hernandez ended up being the catcher for LSU's national championship team. That whole team was stacked. Every single kid went on to either play minor league baseball by getting drafted, a couple indie ball kids, and every single other one transferred to Power 5 schools. I mean, our Friday night starter was Jared Spencer. If you don't remember, he was the Friday night guy for Texas last year as well. So we had a lot of ball players on that team. And then our coach, Mitch Hannes, left at the end of that season and left and went to University of South Florida, where he's at right now. And I was ready to be done with the game of baseball, to be honest with you. But because I put everything I had into this game, man, and I had nothing left. I knew I wasn't going to get drafted or anything, but I had too much respect for my coach to transfer. But it took a lot out of me playing for him because he was a very, very hardcore coach. And it got to the point that he ended up leaving. I saw all my other buddies going in the portal. I go, why not? Might as well throw myself in there. And a lot of people started coming around. And honestly, I was originally kind of targeting the Sun Belt Conference because I thought, okay, it's a step up. We played Southern Miss at Indiana State for a year that year, and I really, really enjoyed playing there because the Pete is an amazing atmosphere, and they love baseball there. And I also really wanted to go like down south to the Sun Belt, and I'm from Chicago, so I wanted to kind of get out and kind of just live in a different part of the United States because I've been in the Midwest my whole life. But Clemson kind of came around, wasn't really expecting ACC or SEC schools, and I was surprised when they came around. And I committed very fast. I committed on my first phone call with Coach Eric Bakich after I had a couple of calls with his assistants ahead of time. I just kind of fell in love right away. And maybe I did it too soon. I had a lot of people come by and reach around later on. I never really played the NIL game as much as I possibly could have, but that was kind of my whole story. And then had a great year at Clemson as well and was very, very blessed. And now here I am, turned down a couple of professional baseball opportunities in the Savannah Bananas, but because I was ready to be done with the game, played my whole last season on a torn labrum in my left hip. And yeah, that's my crazy baseball story leading us to where we are now, man. And I just love the game too much to kind of step all the way away from it and just trying to find a way to kind of get back in it and spread this beautiful game of college baseball that I think is grossly underappreciated. And I also think is rapidly growing as well.
Yeah. Hey, Dominic, that's a great point. College baseball is probably underrated until it gets to Omaha. I don't think it gets enough eyes. And, obviously we're a Sun Belt podcast and you talked about you wanted to come to the Sun Belt. We always say on this podcast, and people probably cringe when I say this, Sun Belt's not a mid-major conference, right? It's a Power 4 baseball conference. And you said that was kind of your goal. What Sun Belt teams were kind of sniffing around when you were looking to make that move? And, who really kind of had your attention?
Yeah, to second your point, first of all, I definitely agree. When I talk to everybody, I say it's SEC's 1A, ACC 1B, and then I say Sun Belt, Big 12, then Big 10 probably. I think the Big 10 is probably the 5th best conference in my opinion, and that's what a lot of my attention was, the Big 10, and I was like, I really don't want to do that because they just don't appreciate baseball the same way they do in that southern pocket, man. I mean, it's just different. College baseball is bred there. But to answer your question, the first school that actually reached out to me was Coastal Carolina. And I was really interested into that right away because everyone knows Coastal Carolina, man. Like they're probably the most well-known mid-major school. And I'm like, oh, Coastal Carolina sounds cool also to live in the coastal part of Carolina. But they were in the middle of their coaching change and everything, which I didn't really understand truly what was going on. And they kind of took a little too long, honestly, in the recruiting process with me, where if they were a little bit more aggressive and got on top of it, I honestly probably would have went to Coastal Carolina. But the first day they reached out to me, but they kind of wanted to play it kind of slow. And they're like, we have a lot of moving pieces right now. We don't really know. My paranoid brain coming from my past, I kind of thought to myself, red flag right away. Don't want to be the second option for people, whatever it may be. And they came around heavy toward the end as well, but it was just a little too late. And the number 2 team for sure was Southern Miss. So probably your perennial top 2 Sun Belt teams. Like I said, I played a series against them, so they knew who I was as well from Indiana State. So they were one of the first teams to reach out. And they have a root of actually a couple really good pitchers from the Illinois area where I'm from. So I think they kind of have a pipeline there. And it's just they love their baseball there, man. So I would say that really jumped out to me. And I'm trying to think. I'm looking right now. Arkansas State, South Alabama, App State as well, Old Dominion, Georgia Southern. Like, honestly, almost everybody reached out. Maybe not I'm looking at the preseason coaches poll right now. I think surprisingly, I think the 3 teams that didn't reach out were the 3 bottom teams in the rankings: Georgia State, James Madison, and ULM. And that kind of might show you a little bit about the recruiting, to be honest with you. But yeah, the big 2 for me were definitely Coastal and Southern Miss. And then South Alabama actually came around with a very aggressive NIL. They just picked up the phone and told me a number within 2 minutes. And it was a very, for my type of player, I would say it was a very fair offer compared to most.
Nice. Cool. That's a very interesting aspect. And I thank you very much for sharing that, because it gives us insight to the background that we don't typically hear, right? We just had a number of coaches and players on previewing the season before we went live with the first pitch. And I think we had all but 4 teams. I think we covered 10, if I'm not mistaken. Marv, correct me if I'm wrong. We had 10 out of 14?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot, and we were jamming them in there. But yeah, this is the part of, and for probably good reasons, they don't share a lot of those details that you just did. But it's very interesting to hear about that. So tell us a little bit about some of these places. You've talked about Southern Miss a little bit. Let's get into the Coastal aspect. So you didn't go to Coastal. You end up at Clemson. They end up playing them. It was a 2-game set, right? Like home and away.
Yes. Yeah. We played 2 separate midweeks, kind of spread out throughout the year. First time going into it, Coastal wasn't ranked. We were at home. We kind of fell into a weird spot last year at Clemson where we were really hot at the time. And sometimes you can just dangerously expect things to go well for you. And Coastal came out with the fire lit beneath them. You could tell. And our team was honestly way too cocky going into that game. And we were throwing a whole staff day as well. And it was still very low scoring. I think both of our games were relatively close. And honestly, we played very, very poorly against Coastal both times. And we played very close games still. So I'll get into this more later about Coastal. But to answer your question, yes. And then I remember before the game, I was talking to one of their coaches because I was our left fielder, and that's the away side. The third base side is the away side at our home field at Clemson. So they were out there when I was warming up and kind of had to exchange a couple words with their recruiting guy. And I could tell they very much so remembered who I was, which made me think like, oh, I actually was a bigger name for them on their board. Little did it went poorly for me against them. Let's say that. I think I went 0 for 8 with a walk against them in both my games. And to toot my own horn, I had a 5.07 on base and led the ACC in on base percentage. So I had a very good year in regard to getting on base, but I did not against Coastal. So they had a great staff. It was very legit. So yeah, we kind of just ran into a weird situation where we just never got going that first game, and they were super dialed in. And in the second game, Coastal broke there. This is when things were starting to get going for Coastal, but it still wasn't like, oh my gosh, Coastal's on this crazy win streak. I want to say they were probably in the 10s at that point, maybe 12 or 13. And people, I'm sure you guys have seen it. They're like, oh, well, it's the Sun Belt, though. It's not the SEC or ACC, which people didn't really, they still don't. The avid college baseball fans weren't really onto the Coastal train yet, understanding how impressive that really is. But they broke an attendance record that game. And this was kind of the start of it all. You could kind of see Conway was galvanizing around that team. I want to say they had over 7,000 people there or something like that for the first time ever. Standing room only. There was no room to stand. Completely laying into me the whole entire game in left field, which I appreciate that all. I loved it. Like South Carolina was our big rival at Clemson. All the people are DMing me just heinous stuff. Like, I think it's all funny, fair game. Like, if those people are serious and they truly mean what they say about me on the other side of the screen, then I would say I feel bad for you. But if it's just like jokes and everything, I think it's funny, man. Just making fun of the girlfriends, making fun of just how you look, whatever it may be. It's all fun, fair game. But it was a very cool atmosphere there. It was a pretty uneventful game, to be honest. I think Coastal scored in 1 inning, and that was it. And they beat us like 3-1 or something. And we just never got anything going on offense. I think they pitched the same guy for 3 or 4 innings that kind of got us well the first midweek game, and we just kept punching it straight into the ground. He was just a sinker baller guy. And then they bought out that nasty bullpen of theirs and just pieced together the last 4 innings. And they threw their high leverage guys versus us, which, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And they
needed the RPI at that point,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because they were still in the conversation like, oh, maybe they could be a host. Maybe, though. Like, it wasn't anything sure at that time. So it was a pretty fun game. I mean, it actually wasn't a fun game, but it was a cool atmosphere.
So talk about, obviously Coastal, everyone knows what they did last year, right? They literally lost the College World Series by 3 runs to LSU, who's probably the most dominant team of the decade. And then we see that staff that they have this year and just the roster that they have. Kind of talk about the quality of player that you saw. Once again, like you said, everyone's going to say ACC, SEC. Then you can rank, Big 10, Big 12, Sun Belt in any order that you want. But you saw it firsthand. Just talk about the quality of athlete and just the dudes that they have on the field.
Yeah, I think it's the best way I would put the Sun Belt from my perspective, not being as deep into it, is it's very baseball-ish. And I appreciate that in the sense that I think a lot of the teams that come out of the Sun Belt really play the game the right way. So I was watching a lot of that Southern Miss series this weekend. I just love the way they play the game, man. And I think it's very easy to when I think about the Coastal team for last year, I was very not impressed with them. I genuinely thought they were going to lose in their own regional. And then I also thought they were definitely going to lose in the Auburn regional. And then at some point, I just kind of came around and realized, okay, they're not going to lose. But I also at the time didn't understand how dominant their starting pitching truly was. Yeah. I was more so focused on the position players because I honestly don't think they had a very impressive position player buildup of last year outside of Bodine and then Alexander in left field. They didn't really have – they just had kind of gritty baseball players, to be honest with you. They weren't super talented. So on that end of it, like Bodine was just a different guy behind the plate. I mean, his actions are just simply unbelievable. And just the knock on him is the hitting, but the hitting at the college level is still S tier. It's still exceptional. But the thing they do exceptionally well is if you are going to give them anything, they are going to exploit it times 5. They did that exceptionally well. And a lot of people, Clemson, we kind of did something similar as well as a team, but not as well as Coastal. And a lot of people would kind of bag on us for saying we weren't talented enough as for an ACC team because we weren't bopping it around and everything. But Coastal shows that you can still win playing the game at that philosophy, which the type of player I was a gritty person. Like I broke the single season hit by pitch record in the ACC. Like I was just that type of baseball player. So I appreciate the way that Southern Miss and Coastal play, and that's kind of how I viewed it for them. And then obviously you take a step back from the position player side and look at the pitching side. That was just straight up one of the best pitching staffs in the country. And also it probably wasn't as deep as a lot of these other teams. However, the top was so unbelievably talented and provided great length all the time that they really didn't have to lean on that depth as often. They knew who their guys were, and it was just their top of their staff was second to maybe Arkansas and LSU. Like, that's it.
Look, listen, a great starting rotation and situational offense will get you a long way at any level of the game.
Correct.
True. We do have a question submission here, and it hasn't got anything to do with Coastal, but it is an interesting aspect. We're both App State guys by default, even though I'm wearing a Warhawks ULM, baby. They gave us some free merch, so I told them I would proudly sport it on the show. But we have a question from Neil Higgins, who asked, as a player, is a place like App State, I'll just use that as an example because you can talk about other places that may have recruited you. Are these places turnoffs because of weather, right? Like App State's up in the mountains of North Carolina, but you're coming from the northeastern part of the country as well. So is, like you said, you wanted to get down or into the Sun Belt, not necessarily the conference, but in that area of the country. Is that, just where baseball players want to be?
Yeah, I think being from Chicago, you realize very quickly that everyone cares about professional sports and nobody cares about collegiate baseball. People care about collegiate football, but nobody cares about collegiate baseball. You could take the University of Illinois and put them in a national championship game, and people are going to be like, "Oh, yeah, cool. How about the Cubs?" But when you go down south, it's different. Like the communities truly do galvanize around those teams and whatnot. So for me, I hadn't spent much time in that part of the country. That I didn't have extensive knowledge of what the area around App State was even like. I actually talked because they were one of the first teams to recruit me. I had a really good conversation with their coaching staff, actually. And honestly, if they had a little bit like higher level success, I probably would have considered it further. But just where I was at my career, I had one more year left. I'm like, I'm going to stretch this as far as I possibly can. Like, I'm not necessarily focused on, like, their pitch to me was kind of, they had an Ole Miss bounce back 2 years ago that had a great year. And they're like, he now got drafted. Like, that's the type of staff we are. And I like that. If I was coming out of my D3, I would have liked that a lot more. But where I was, I kind of was thinking, okay, I'm looking to kind of stretch the boundary here. And if I have to sit the bench, it is what it is. But for me, the weather wasn't necessarily a turnoff because I didn't know what it was. And I never ended up going for the visit at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got a question for you. So App had a guy, Lichtenberger, standout freshman year last year. That's now the starting shortstop for Clemson. What's the biggest difference that you think someone coming from the Sun Belt to go into the ACC is going to see? Is it just pitching depth, the style of play? Like, what's the biggest difference that you see?
Yeah, I honestly forgot to connect the dots there. I forgot about that. But
we were very sad to lose him. That kid,
yeah,
he's a heck of a ball player.
I mean, wasn't he freshman of the year or something?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it was May of last year, he had a little bit of a slump towards the end of the season. He was hitting 380 through May and was just on fire and fielding at an extremely high level.
Yeah, I think I don't know what was going through the coaching staff's mind, but if I had to guess, I mean, the prototype that we've had at Clemson at shortstops is glove first. And it seems to be off my initial view that, like, the glove is the thing. Yes, he hit 380. I'm very curious to see how it plays, his swing plays in the ACC. I do think that there's definitely more stuff in the ACC when it comes to pitching top to bottom. I don't think you're getting as many. When you look at a 14-team league like the Sun Belt, yes, it's an amazing baseball conference, but it does, once you get past those starters and those top-end relievers in a 3-game series, there is a bigger dip-off in regard to the talent that you're seeing, and it's probably more of your what do you want to call it, your crafty pitchers rather than your stuff pitchers. And any baseball player, I think, would feel more comfortable, not to say the result will be great, but you'll feel more comfortable against crafty people. Like, when you're in the ACC, man, there's really no breaks. And even these bottom tiers, like Pitt was the only team last year that I thought was, like, comfortable at bats. But you see, I mean, even Stanford didn't have a great year. Dude, they're rolling out guys throwing 98 out of their pen, just like, you're thinking to yourself, this guy has an 8 ERA coming in. You're like, oh, sweet, here we go. And it's just stupid stuff. So sometimes the control and what's not, and stuff isn't there. So the biggest thing I would say is that helped me is you have to know yourself as a baseball player. Like, I'm a huge, huge advocate of having to know yourself, because if you know yourself better than the pitcher knows him, like, the pitcher's going to beat himself so often. And that's why I was able to have a 500 on bases, because those at bats, I wasn't trying to do too much. I let them come to me. So when you can kind of have those very uncomfortable lefty at bats. And is he a switch hitter or is he lefty?
I believe he's lefty. I'm not
Or
1,000%
righty
sure, but I can't say I can't say I've ever seen him hit from the other side.
Okay, he's a left. For some reason, I had a weird thought, but yeah, so lefty bat, and he's going to have a lot of uncomfortable matchups with that. Based off the swing I saw, it might be a little bit of a hole to exploit. So I would say that like just being able to grind out at bats is going to be a big thing because you're not going to feel well all these weekends, and you need to find a way to still be productive. But as a whole, I would say the jump is much smaller than most conferences. However, it's still a hard jump because we had a guy, the last podcast I was doing before this, Luke Gaffney is a big name at Clemson right now. He had not the year we expected for him, and he was similar to Ty in the sense that he was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, hit 4-something, like went crazy. And then he ended up not playing for us at the end of last year. But he has huge expectation going into this year. So I'm really curious to see how he handled it all. It's tricky, but it really depends on the maturity between the ears for me.
Well, Dom and I saw that ourselves firsthand 2 years ago. We went to App State played Duke in Durham on a midweek on Tuesday. And Dom, I don't know if you remember this, but Duke brought 3 guys. I think it was the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning. 3 freshmen out of the bullpen, all lefties, all of them throwing 94. And you're like, that's a Saturday guy. Like, what's he doing on a Tuesday?
Yeah. And, the other thing that was just very evident to me is just the overall size difference in players. I mean, obviously, some teams are going to look a little bit different, but Duke put a guy out there who looked like he could be in a WWE wrestling ring with how big he was. It was scary. Yeah, exactly.
There's definitely a level of physicality to the recruits as well. I mean, it feeds into the whole dynamic. I mean, you think about the top echelon of recruits that are the physicality, the guy that runs the best 60, he's huge, SEC, ACC schools. And then the guys that have a couple plus attributes in their ball players, they tend to find themselves into the Big 12, Big 10, Sun Belt type of category, in my opinion, mostly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I want to wrap up here with some fun questions, but before we get to that, and I don't know how much you want to divulge and everything, but one of the comments that I was seeing after we started following each other is someone saying, college baseball doesn't get enough coverage. It doesn't get enough TV attention. And you said, I'm working on that. And again, I don't know if there's stuff you can and can't divulge because, maybe this is behind the scenes. But if you want to elaborate on that, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that now before we get into a few, rapid fire questions with you.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of feeding into the whole Twitter game, to be completely honest, and just kind of poking fun at some of those burners and whatnot. But I definitely am working on it in the sense that I'm going to keep streaming my conscious, whether people hate it or like it. And I'm going to just I think there's, like you said earlier, there's something to be said about getting a kind of a behind the scenes look at the curtain that you don't really see. And I think people appreciate that, where being able to share some insights about, these are these stories that I haven't even thought about with my recruiting experience in the Sun Belt. And it's interesting to people to kind of know what these players go through, to understand what the process of getting there looks like, and all these nitty gritty details that you genuinely you don't know about, but people find them so astonishingly interesting. And I really want to share that side of the game. And also, I am a huge advocate in regard to just the mental training of baseball, the mental side of baseball. I think it's the thing that helped me go from D3 to D1 and then from Indiana State to Clemson and be very successful in all those jumps. So for me, it's spreading the knowledge in that aspect is going to be big. I definitely am going to come out with my form of a podcast like you all have as well. So that's part of that. And then also the little bit more behind the scenes is I am looking to pair with a couple bigger media spaces in this the college baseball niche world and kind of team up with them here in the coming week and probably come out publicly with that and start creating some content with them. And don't know exactly where that's going to go, but I would love to get to the point that have created a little bit enough of a media following and buzz around it that some teams will want to have me come out and do certain deeper dives into certain psyches of players and behind the scene looks of what's going on in their day-to-day life and whatnot, to the extent that's appropriate for them to kind of, obviously there's almost like a little bit of a spell that's casted on you when you're playing the game that you can't speak about certain things or it's frowned upon. I have been lifted of that spell. Sure, there's some things that I probably shouldn't say and can't say, but most of the things I want to say, I can say now. So I think that's more or less what I want to do. And in the grand scheme of things, I just want to keep opening myself up to connecting with people like you guys that are spreading the game and just genuinely love this game, because it's just way too underappreciated still. And we see it in the College World Series every year. We see it when they do the squeeze play for the regionals. I mean, I can tell you guys, in our clubhouse, like we're playing the night game, we show up early as a team and we're in the clubhouse just watching. Like, we all love that. We're all you're telling me we can have NFL Red Zone for college baseball more often? Like, come on, man. So, like, I really want to just push this forward, and I want to try to be I would love to get to the point that I can kind of be somewhat of one of the million great faces we have in this game and pressing it forward.
Nice. Quick question here. Have you thought about the NIL agent aspect? Because I feel like you'd be really good at that. I just don't know if that's something people want to get into, because it is hard and there's some red tape to go through for it.
I've honestly never thought about that. I really don't know much about what that encapsulates, but you say that and you make me want to grab my pen and write that down. So
you get 20%. That's all we know. Apparently the NIL is 20%. So Dom's going to take 2% of your 20, and you're onto something here.
Yeah, there you go.
Seriously, I mean, I definitely think it'd be interesting because, like I said, or I don't know if I said this, but I am in the process of starting a business in regard to mentorship for baseball players. Because, like, my story that you guys know is the D3 to D1 and all the stuff in between. Like, my dad did everything he could for me in the game of baseball, and he never played high school baseball, so there's a limited knowledge that he can provide to me. And it's like, you need to be around somebody that's done what you want to do. So I think we all want to pay for Driveline, Tread Athletics, and all these lessons. But at the end of the day, I think you need somebody to mold you into the person along with the baseball player that will allow you to get there and be successful. Because a lot of people get there, then they completely fizzle out and we never hear about them. So that's something I'm deeply passionate about that I want to get into more. It's kind of similar, like a good agent, I would imagine, is a good mentor to some degree as well. So that's something that I would actually be curious to hear more about, that if you guys, behind the scenes, if you guys know some people in that space you could connect with or something.
I think some good agents are great mentors. I think some good agents are just grabbing the bag, just coaching kids to grab the bag. I got one more question before we get into the rapid fire, because you said something that made me think. We talked to a lot of coaches before the season, and it's no secret, right? Like, college baseball rosters are getting older because of the transfer portal. And a lot of kids that are super talented out of high school are having to take that JUCO D3 route, and maybe they're getting dejected and thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. But you are good enough. It's just, if you're a college coach and you're getting paid on wins and losses, it's like, hey, develop the kid or go get the proven entity, right? What are your thoughts on how that is changing high school kids coming out? And you talk about mentorship and the psyche of baseball, just kind of level set the playing field on a high school kid who is talented and isn't getting those D1 looks, but he's a D1 guy, and just kind of how to keep your mind straight and stay the course and know that JUCO is not a bad option. D3 is not a bad option. At the end of the day, if you're talented, you're going to get to where you want to be.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first part of that gets my brain thinking a little bit on the baseball side of things for this sport as a whole. I honestly do think that the NIL, as much as some people might not like it in the college baseball space, is helping us push this game forward and grow it, to be completely honest with you. Because if we didn't do that, I truly think that we would stay in our very niche bubble. And if that's what people want, that's what people want, I guess. But I truly think to push this game to the level it deserves, I don't think there's any reason that we can't be getting these games on national television consistently the way that college basketball is. And for that to happen, there needs to be a little bit of like status that's acquainted to these baseball players. And like, you think about a Caglione, for example, like that would be a boozer of college basketball in today, the current state. Like, you got to have those types of people. You got to draw that into it. And when you pay people like that and it starts to get bigger and more media coverage, and then it allows people like you guys, you have more money into the sport. That means that you can make your production better and all these different things. So it keeps going and going. Like I listen to Joel Klatt for college football stuff all the time, and he has an amazing production. Like there's no reason that we shouldn't have these people that have a wealth of knowledge in college baseball, like your guys' self, to be able to make more money and like somewhat of a living or a true side hustle off of this as well. And that's what I think I really am passionate about in this space. And I think NIL actually pushes us forward in that aspect. But to answer your genuine question off of my side tangent is, I think that's where the mentorship really does come into play again, because you have to have the right people around you, man. And if you have somebody around you that's just like, you don't have the right people, you're going to just chase after the highest status Twitter post out of high school, because high school kids are shallow. We all know that. We all know that they are very focused on status. And I mean, heck, that's part of the reason I wanted to post that Division II school over the Division III school, even though I like my Division III school more. It's because I wanted to be like, well, I'm Division II, and my friends would know that means I got athletic scholarship money. So having the right people around you is very, very important, I would say, number one, because they're going to help you understand what's actually happening. Because you're going to get discouraged as a baseball player if you don't know what's actually going on in this process. You're just going to feel like you're pounding your head up against a brick wall. And at that point, you better absolutely love the game of college baseball. And thank God that he blessed me with the love of the game of college baseball, because I was pounding my head against a brick wall for years, not knowing what to do. And at the end of the day, you have to surround yourself with a good mentor, the right people, and just work your freaking butt off, man. Because just like anything in life, I got asked a question recently. What should my kid do? Should he like train more in the summer? Should he da in the summer? I go, okay, we're making this way too complicated. And I put the blame on Driveline and Tread. Driveline and Tread are very good in a lot of respective areas. You know who they're very good for? They're good for guys in the Sun Belt that are trying to take their game to the next level and get to the MLB. They're not good for high school players that are trying to get to a baseline level of competency to even play college baseball. You're not there yet. You're not good enough yet. So how do you get better at the game of baseball? You get better at the game of baseball by playing the game of baseball. Go play as many games as possible. It might sound stupid, but it is simple, easy, stupid. And that's truly what I think those kids have to do. Surround themselves with the right people, get a good mentor, grind your butt off, and play as many games as possible. That's what I got.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. Because, again, you've just gotten through it. So it rings even truer than somebody who's been out of the game for a lot longer, maybe doesn't understand this space like you do. So some fast questions here for you. Favorite place to play on the road? I mean, I guess it could be from any of your schools, but I would assume it's going to be one of the bigger ones. We'll see what you say.
Florida State, and then Sun Belt would be Southern Miss.
Okay. I like that. Is there a
pitcher you ever faced?
There you go.
The grossest pitcher I ever faced was Justin Lagurnick on my own team, even though people don't know who that is, most likely, but not yet.
Which team was that? Just
this past year at Clemson. He didn't pitch too much for us, but he just had a great opening weekend, was up to 97. Comp would be Chris Sale. I couldn't see what was coming my way.
Wow. Okay. I love that. Okay. I'm going to end with one that's going to hit you hard, I think. Maybe not. If you had the opportunity to play one more college baseball game out of the 3 teams you played for, which one would it be?
Honestly, that's a really easy one for me.
Okay.
It would 100% be Clemson.
Okay.
100% would be Clemson.
I thought, you had that aspect where you're talking about like that town and city mentality of like buying in. And I thought maybe Indiana State might be the play here.
I did love my time at Indiana State. I think that my perspective, I worked so hard to get to Clemson, and I spent so much time trying to get there that I would like to think, and I take a lot of pride in this, that I was able to appreciate it more than anybody else would have been able to appreciate it in my shoes, because of what I had to go through to get there. I think a lot of kids that are freshmen, they go there as freshmen, they're told how good they are their whole lives. I don't think they appreciated it as much as I did, nor would I expect them to, because they kind of expect that. for me, it was every day genuinely felt like I was driving in Disney World and I was being overstimulated with just amazing things.
Nice.
That's very cool.
That's awesome.
Dominic, before you jump off, man, I think you got big things ahead of you. Where can people find you? Give us your Instagram, Twitter, so people can follow you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Dominic Listi for everything. No space, just Dominic Listi on, as my name is here, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And look forward to most of the college baseball content's going to be on Twitter. We're going to expand to Instagram and TikTok even further eventually, and then hopefully get some long form stuff going on as well. But if you follow me on Twitter, you'll be able to find out when that comes out.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm already really happy with the follow because he's putting out stuff that's relevant, interesting, and he's getting a lot of interaction. So absolutely follow him immediately. The only difference between this Dominic and that one is that he doesn't have a K on the end. So, just one less letter, and then Listi, it's spelled exactly how it sounds. So, yeah, man, we really appreciate your time, and we will definitely continue following you along on your journey. Hopefully still very much involved in baseball. But obviously from the non-player side at this point. So, yeah, man, best of luck moving forward. And we certainly would love to have you on again in the future.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys inviting me on. I had a blast doing this. And just so I know as well, to be able to blast this on social media, is it going to be on your guys' Twitter and everything to repost and whatnot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be on there. And yeah, we'll live stream it tomorrow on Instagram just so we can throw it on there. It won't actually be live, obviously. It'll be the recorded version. But yeah, it'll be on all platforms very shortly.
Awesome, man. Again, thank you guys so much. I had a great time.
Man,
thanks, Dominic. Really appreciate it. That was great, man.
Yeah,
very fun interview there. Really enjoyed that
a lot.
Could
have gone another hour picking his brain, but hey, man, we got real baseball to talk about. We had opening series this weekend.
We do, and I'm going to start off with some fun stuff for us as well here, Marv, because I want to see your thoughts and opinions on this. We had 3 teams over the weekend wear Mardi Gras uniforms. I'm actually going to go full screen on this. And I apologize.
I watched the Cajuns Sunday game. I know they wore them on Saturday and Sunday. I watched the entire game, and I think they're all pretty awesome.
I do. I don't think any of them are misses. I'll say that. And again, apologizing to the audio version. We're going to put this out on Twitter as well, kind of see what the masses think when we put these all head to head. But yeah, I mean, the Cajuns got the black one with the purple, green, and gold or yellow. The Warhawks have a similar jersey, really, all the way around. I mean, they got the word mark through the
just white, not black. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. I mean, it's pretty darn similar. So both very sharp. I think the one that I like the best, though, honestly, because it's a little different, is the South Alabama Jaguars. They went with a little bit different color scheme. They've got the purple, and I don't know if that's kind of like a gold, or I don't know what kind of color you would describe that as, Marv.
It looks a little bit too James Madison to me. My favorite's the Cajuns. I like the black with the colors, but they're all really cool. Yeah.
I definitely, like I said, I agree with you. Definitely would buy any of these off the shelf. I did look at the bidding on these things and just too rich for my blood. Unfortunately, I will tell you, I mean, obviously some of the players carry a larger price tag. Some of those black Cajun ones were going for over $1,000 a piece. Ooh. All right. The Warhawks they ended up being a little bit more affordable. And obviously it's a little bit smaller of a fan base, I would assume. But still, again, you picking this up for $85, $90 on a shelf, like sold, man. Like I hope that at the very least, these schools are smart enough to come out with a t-shirt or something that fans can buy at a more reasonable price and they can still fly off the shelves. So the school is making more money. The fans can also enjoy this. And then obviously the ones that got the money, can wear these things out in public or frame it up.
No, those are all real. I mean, opening weekend alternate jerseys. That's a good look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sam Talk Sports chiming in saying ULM is dark horse contenders. Maybe he's saying for the jersey, maybe he's saying for baseball, but definitely the jersey aspect, definitely very, very good. Yeah, I think I side with South Alabama. And again, mine's because they stick out a little bit more. I think the color scheme works. I do agree with you now that you've said it, actually. It does kind of ring James Madison worthy with the color scheme.
It's still a super cool jersey, though.
It is, yeah. And I think it just fills up more of the jersey. And I like the back, right? We know Mobile is very proud of the birthplace of Mardi Gras. They have that inscribed with the city skyline on the back, with the number within the line. I mean, I just think it's a very crisp and clean look. And they went with the all-white hat to pair with it. Yeah, the Cajuns actually – yeah, go ahead.
I said the hat's nice. I like the matching hat because it doesn't look like the Cajuns went with a matching alternate hat.
No, it does not. And actually, weirdly enough, when the Cajuns first debuted theirs, they actually had a red belt on with the pants because obviously they're traditionally red and white, or vermilion and white. I'm sorry. Don't come after me, Raging Cajun fans. But yeah, they went to the black belt, much sharper look with the black belt and the black jersey. But yeah, I had fun with these. Again, I wish these were more reasonably priced for people to buy. To note, the Cajuns and Warhawks bids are finalized, overdone. You cannot get those jerseys. South Alabama still available. So those are going to run until, I think, the 1st of March. I think it's a ways away. So you've got some time on those. They're probably hoping to drive that price tag up pretty good. We'll see if it happens.
I think it's the opposite. The shorter time span you have to bid on it creates urgency.
I think that's exactly what, yes, because that's what we saw with the Cajuns for sure. And then the Warhawks shortly thereafter as well. I think both of them went final on Sundays when those closed up. But yeah, the great stuff. I'm glad that we're seeing this kind of stuff in baseball. I don't think we see it enough in like football. It's kind of getting that way a little bit more. And basketball, I feel like we really don't see much. So I think, some Sunbelt schools, get your name on the map, do stuff like this more often. I think it's fun. Even if it's tough for people to participate at, the dollar amount. And then here's just another weird tidbit of news, Marv. I don't know if you saw this. This is not the athletics page, but Old Dominion University has said as of Monday, February 16th, which as we go live is today, ODU will no longer be active on X/Twitter.
Interesting.
Why? Why?
I don't have the answer, and I don't think it's a good move. But you're saying all their athletics programs like football, baseball, basketball, they still have their X accounts open.
They seem to not be attached to this specific announcement. I also went to make sure that this came from the real page. We've seen people trick people before with, changing the name to be something different than the actual tag itself. This seems to be verified that this is the real Old Dominion University account, and they are no longer going to be participating on X or Twitter, in which they have 24,000 followers. They're just going to walk away from. I don't know. Weird.
That's a head scratcher, but good for you.
Yeah. Just kind of a crazy thing. I just caught that and said, I don't understand this move. They're not even telling you we're going to go do this, look for an announcement. They're just saying, hey, follow us on these other things. I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. Just a very interesting note. All right. Now we're going to get into some more fun stuff. We're going to review our weekly series picks. As we said, Seth not joining us tonight, but he is going to be continuously participating in our picks. And we get to pick on him since he's not here. He is 1-2. Marv and I are tied at 2-1. All three of us did take Coastal Carolina. Marv and I took them to sweep, which is obviously correct. Seth took them to lose a game to Fairfield, which didn't look like a bad pick on Friday evening, I guess I should say. Yeah.
No, and regional though. I mean, that's little bad blood there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Fairfield, from some people's perspective, is predicted to be in the field yet again for probably winning their conference, an aspect that they can probably do after a pretty good showing all together, I'd say, at Coastal, even though they got swept. You're talking about essentially the number 2 team out of last season, and we know that they're number 6 going into this season. Obviously, staying right there too. By the way, for those that don't see, D1 baseball, that's the rankings we use. I know that there's a couple others, but D1 baseball is the one the NCAA puts on their website. That's one we'll use. Coastal number 6 still, USM number 20 still. So we'll talk about them next. All three of us exactly correct. We did think UCSB would steal one. They did. They actually stole the first one, though, and I think that was a little bit surprising, right, Marv?
No, not at all for me. Jackson, Florida, their Friday starter is a top 10 pick probably. You know, USCB, everyone knew, like, so they were like, if there was a others receiving votes category in Division I baseball, they would have been like 27th. They were kind of right there to get ranked. Everyone knew they have a very good pitching staff, but the offense has kind of been the question. They came out with their number one guy on Friday night, which you're going to want to do with the Pete, right? You're trying to set the tone against a nationally ranked team. He did enough to get the win, and then the rest of the weekend, listen, Southern Miss has got a pretty damn good pitching staff too, right? So they won the rest of the battles. But yeah, I picked 2-1 Southern Miss, and I would have told you that whatever night Jackson, Florida went would be the night that UCSB had the best chance to win.
That's a good point. Yeah, I do remember now that you talked about how good of a pitcher he was going to be. But I guess my thought is just like, first game of the season, this team came all the way across the country. You're going to get USM's best pitcher too. They're going to win the first one, right? But you're right. I mean, they saw a guy who is the real deal. And they had an exciting – I mean, that might have been the best series across all of college baseball for the weekend. And we'll talk about that as we wrap up some of the ones here shortly. And then the last series was one we took a chance on being really good. West Virginia Mountaineers went down to Statesboro, Georgia. We thought that the matchup with Georgia Southern could be close. So we all had Georgia Southern taking at least one game. At least Seth and Marv did. I had them taking two because their home team thought they could jump up there and surprise West Virginia. Unfortunately, none of us got that one right. 3-game sweep, right, Mark?
Listen, West Virginia's ranked now. I mean, they were another one of those, like, others receiving votes. They probably would have been right there with UCSB. That's still a really good baseball team. But yeah, I thought Georgia Southern could take one at home. I'd have to look back through. I think they might have had a chance in one game, but West Virginia's a pretty darn good club.
Yeah, the one thing that I remember specifically on Friday watching was like, wow, they're up. Georgia Southern, they were up 3-1 early, not real early. I think it was the fifth inning or so, and then the bats just woke up for West Virginia, and I think they ended up. We'll get to that here in a second. I think they ended up taking that game like 13-5 or something. Yeah. So not that great. Okay, so 2-1. Marv and I are both tied as far as the series go. As we'll remind people, we've put on all the socials when we post this up. If you do not get the series exactly correct, you do not get the victory. So because of that, Marv and I are above Seth right now. But if you go to the tiebreaker, which is going to be overall wins and losses, Marv, you're in first place because you're 8-1, only that one loss with the one Georgia Southern pick. Otherwise, perfect through the weekend. Very good, man.
I do believe I am the two-time defending champion of the Pick'ems for a reason.
There you go. There you go. I know Seth was really, really wanting that switch to go to just the overall picks last year because I think, what did we find out? He would have been the champion on that one, but not by much, I think.
No, it's close. I mean, to have to get the series perfect is a hard way to judge, but that's the way we started, so therefore that's the way we will finish.
Yeah, like I said earlier on X, I think it was a hard mode. Like, this is not easy, and that's the way we like it. And people say, why do you do it that way? You have a bunch of losses. You don't know what you're talking about. And I said, I think it helps make it different.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I like it. We will continue with that. We're not going to talk about each and every game here, but this was the scoreboard for Friday. We had a number of our teams do fairly well. We did have Arkansas State go ahead and play 2 games. They won a double header there. Everybody else at least got a game in before all the weather started, a little bit into Saturday and Sunday. But we did have, again, that Southern Miss loss to start Friday. James Madison had a shot at number 16 ranked Florida State. Marv, off the top of your head, or do you have in front of you where Florida State is now after this weekend?
I don't think they moved. I think they stayed right where they were. Yeah.
It makes sense, I guess, for the most part, unless you had some kind of big upset. Probably a lot of teams did kind of stay fairly similar. And where'd you say West Virginia was at now?
I think they're like 23 or 24. They not barely got in, but they are ranked. I'll look it up while we talk.
Okay. Well, I will say in the meantime that hopefully that is a little bit of a good thing for Georgia Southern, right? Like if West Virginia hammered, I don't know, Rhode Island. Like, I would assume they're probably not getting a lot of points for winning a game like that, right? So hopefully part of the reason West Virginia's ranked is because they beat a pretty –
They're 25th.
25th? Okay, so they're just in there. But still, hopefully a little bit of, winning on the road against a decent opponent in Georgia Southern, because as we can see on this next one here, I mean, they did have an 11-10 game, so that was close. And then the last one ended up 5-2. So, pretty decent showing against a team that is now ranked. If you can remember, Marv, too, we paid attention last year. Coastal Carolina was not ranked throughout a lot of the season, right? I mean, probably should have been, but they weren't. So it doesn't mean much that, you play an unranked team when you get a team like West Virginia in there who's still really, really good. Those things will probably sort themselves out through the season. Marv, is there a couple series you want to wrap up for us as we look through some of these scores on the weekend too?
I mean, I think the biggest surprises of the weekend are going to be Mercer beating Troy, which Mercer is another one of those others receiving votes. Like, that's a really good ball team. A lot of people have them picked for a regional. And then the Cajuns dropping the series to Missouri State. I think that surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely surprised me for sure. Earning their first win of the season in the last game there at the Teague. I mean, that's kind of their castle, the place that their pride and joy for Cajun baseball, man. And hosting a team like Missouri State, who's not awful, okay? We're not going to say that. I mean, obviously now too that they're looking pretty good, but this is not a team that people gave much of a chance to against the Cajuns playing at home on opening weekend, right?
I mean, you should have maybe saw them taking a game, but to win two and go back a little bit, I think one of them was like is a blowout.
Yeah, one of them was.
I think it was
13-12. It must have been the first game. Yeah, 8-2 first game.
Yeah, not a blowout, but I think we had Cajuns fourth preseason, and not to say that that's still not going to play out, right? Like, it's opening weekend, still a lot of things got to come together, but that one shocked me. And then Troy losing to Mercer, especially losing a game 17-5, is that shocked me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only good thing is that they at least got the lick back a little bit, and they got the win 19-3 in their last one.
They did.
So
they definitely got him back. But if you would have told me that Louisiana and Troy would lose their opening weekend series, I would have said absolutely no way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. And to note, just so we are aware, most Sunbelt teams hosted, but Troy was one of those odd ones who actually went on the road to play at Mercer. So as much as those two losses in the series loss hurts, they hopefully will get some decent RPI, because I would expect that Mercer didn't just win these games on flukes. They're going to be a pretty good baseball team in the Southern Conference, which, has some ball teams too. So we'll see. J.R. Tollett, the guy who guest on our show when we previewed the Cajun, did have 8 strikeouts in that second game, I think it was. I believe it was that second game there. So just wanted to mention that in there. Do you have any more notes on some of these things that you wanted to mention? Because I got some overall ones for the Sun Belt in general.
Yeah, I mean, I can just run through some of the stuff I wrote down, and I kind of went, by the Sun Belt standing, so it goes in alphabetical order if there's teams tied. Nice. Cam Miller for App, 7 RBIs in his first series. That's pretty awesome. Arkansas State. In the third game, they batted around in the first inning and then hit 3 home runs in the 7th inning of that game. That's pretty cool. Coastal, I mean, that pitching staff is really, really good. I mean, Fluky comes out on Friday, gives up a 2-run home run in the first, and then just absolutely shuts them down after that. And their bullpen is, as the other Dominic was talking about, their bullpen is really, really, really good. Bryce Bevins at Marshall, just doing Bryce things. I mean, what was it? 7 innings pitch, gave up 1 run, just phenomenal. And then ODU gets a win at home in their first game at home in 600 days. Pretty cool for ODU. And then what do they do in response? They get off of Twitter. So, yeah, good for you guys.
Yeah, hell, have that make sense, right? To note, the James Madison was supposed to have one last shot at Florida State. That last game canceled because of weather, so Florida State does take that series, technically 2-0, even though they didn't have a shot in that third one. And again, those of you seeing this, Marshall's last game against Kennesaw was canceled. They were in a tournament setting, so they didn't have a true series, so they're not going to be a part of what I'm about to say now. There were 13 series overall, as we know, 14 teams, but 13 series because of Marshall. This Sun Belt went 8-4 overall in those series. So I think a good, respectable showing in that sense. So hopefully, we don't want to lose some of them and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, pretty good showing overall, I'd say at that point. And we also went 27-15 as a conference overall. That's total wins and losses. So not too terrible of a start. I know some teams didn't get off to the specific starts they wanted to. Hopefully we can see that change, especially because right now, I don't know, it's kind of the same as every other sport, right? Outside of the conference, we want everybody to win every single game. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but as much as it can happen, will benefit us greatly when it comes to the RPI and the power, rankings and quad victories and all the other stuff that they always talk about late in the season. Those are the types of things that, let's say a couple of our teams won a couple more out of conference games last season. That does that put Troy in even with the exact same record they had? Maybe. Could have helped at the very least. Obviously, you help yourself the most. Troy wants to take care of business on their own time, but those are the small things that can really change how stuff is happening. Chuck is chiming in. It's good to see Chuck over here. Jackson, Florida is the real deal. Southern Miss opening 10 games is brutal. Yeah, and they're not the only ones. There's a couple of schools in this conference that's scheduled really tough to start the year out with, and you have to have a lot of respect for that. Again, going out and taking these games at neutral sites or on the road or bringing in a very tough opponent, all great stuff because the Sun Belt needs those types of games to create the atmospheres, to create the interest, and to get their guys ready for what is, as we've talked about, Marv, what ad nauseum over the past couple interviews, one of the toughest conferences in the country. Again, I love seeing Chuck chime in here. We've had Chuck on the show. Hopefully we can have him.
Southern Miss has Southeastern Louisiana. Then they go to what's it called? Round Rock tournament. They have Purdue, Oregon State, and Baylor.
Yeah,
and you see what that Baylor kid did this weekend?
Yeah, that might have hit like 3 Grand Slams. Is that what it was?
In one game?
In one game, yeah.
One game. Only the second time ever in NCAA history. I was reading something. The guy who did it first, I think it was like 1978. He had 2 Grand Slams in 1 inning. Like the amount of things that have to go right to hit 3 Grand Slams in a year is crazy. To do it in a series is nuts. To do it in 1 game is improbable. To do it twice in an inning is just, man.
Yeah. That also, the score of that game must have been crazy because just insane. We do have a couple of great matchups this week. I think, Marv, I don't know if you've decided or figured out yet if you're going to be able to make the App State Duke game tomorrow in Durham, or
no. I don't think I'm going to be able to. But yeah, App's got Duke. Let's see. Arkansas State's got Ole Miss. Coastal's got College of Charleston. Then they play at Illinois on the weekend. Yeah, a lot of teams stepping up in their midweek games. Texas State has Baylor on the midweek, which, if I'm not mistaken, they beat Baylor last year on a midweek.
Yes, they did. I think they got each other back and forth, if I'm not mistaken, though.
No, I think you're right. Troy's got Mississippi State.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of teams are going to get her. And then Georgia State, man, they got Georgia Tech, who's like the number 5 ranked team in the country.
Yeah, Georgia Southern has Georgia Tech.
Georgia Southern. After getting swept by a now ranked team, congratulations, you get to play another ranked team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to get a whole lot easier. Georgia State on Wednesday has Mercer, so that's going to be tough. And that one is in Mercer. So again, Mercer could be on a roll here. It was Georgia Tech last year who played like 4 Sun Belt schools before they ever got into ACC play. And I was like, Georgia Tech, welcome to the Sun Belt. It might be Mercer this year. Maybe Mercer should just get the welcome mat. laid out for them. But yeah, that's not even talking about some of the matchups on the weekend. I know you talked about one or two, but yeah, some really good baseball. Campbell going up to Troy. We'll see if Campbell kind of returns to form. We know that they were decimated by the loss of their coach and everything else. And then you've got a Pac-12 matchup going into next year with Gonzaga traveling down to Texas State. So that's a little bit of preview for those folks down there in Slam Marcos, as they call it. But
I'm surprised Artie didn't jump up here. First comment.
I know.
Texas State sweep. Artie, we miss you, buddy.
I know, man. Hopefully he takes this in on the replay and we hear from him, because just before we go, we'll mention that we're going to do a little guest picking this year. And we want you to go ahead and participate now in the comments. When we make our weekly picks, do it with us. Just have fun with it. And what we're going to do is kind of have the winner stays on type of thing. So we're going to get into that. We have our first guy locked up and he's already participating. So if you see CFB Home, college football home is his name, but he's a baseball guy too. He's already participating in the comments. We love to see it. And that's what we want to do with it. Just have fun with it, right?
Yeah, no, that's the whole point of it. And yeah, if you're listening or watching, if you start posting and you start beating us, guess what? You could be the next guest picker.
Yeah, it's going to be fun that way. A little bit different than like College Game Day, where the guy just comes on, makes his picks, and then leaves. It took Sam a while to type up about the 3 grand slams, but he says he's talking about it right as I finished typing that long thing out. But we appreciate the interaction, Sam. It's fun. The baseball in this conference is top tier. We just heard from someone who did not play in the conference but could have, and that was the really interesting part about having Dominic on. We really appreciate his time. And I don't know, Marv, any news or notes you want to leave with before we get out of here tonight?
No, just happy the baseball's back, and it'll be one of those things that 3 months from now, I'll be like, oh my gosh, the season's already over, and it'll feel like it went by in a flash. But man, opening day is, I think Coach Brett from Apps said it. Opening day should be a national holiday. There's nothing better than watching the teams get out there and play. Obviously, we had a couple series that were shortened due to weather, and springtime you're going to have it. But just happy to have baseball back, and it's a lot for you and I. We talk about it all the time when it's out of conference. You got 14 series. You're trying to watch as much and trying to study as much. Really excited to get into conference so we can kind of narrow it down and get it granular. But I think, like you said, a lot of our teams, they schedule up before the conference to get ready for it. So it's also a lot of fun to watch them play teams like Santa Barbara, Mercer, Ole Miss, Duke. Like it's cool to see them go get battle tested before they get to conference.
Yeah, absolutely. I will try to do some kind of coverage from Duke App State tomorrow, but I will have a 7-year-old with me, so it may make that a little difficult. But just be on the lookout for something from that game for sure, at least some clips or something. But we really appreciate everybody tuning in or listening to this afterward, and keep following along, because baseball is just getting rolling, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you.